There are so many myths and pieces of misinformation in the business improvement world that it's crazy at the moment. There are so many organisations that struggle with the implementation of the different methodologies that it leads to people perceiving these different methodologies incorrectly. So in this particular video, what I want to quickly talk about is the causes or contributing factors in people misunderstanding and not getting the most out of concepts like Lean and Six Sigma. And I also want to explain how Lean and Six Sigma and problem-solving methods work and fit a value stream, because if you understand that one thing, then you're more likely to be able to employ it correctly. There are 3 reasons why people are struggling with business improvement today. The number one is there are too many shonkies out there. Well, maybe I shouldn't say shonkies. There are too many people out there who really have no idea what they're doing. They are taking little pieces of information and then utilizing this and calling it Lean Six Sigma or something like that, and leaving an organization struggling to get value out of it. There are a lot of people out there who don't fully understand what these different methodologies are. They're trained in one, they call it everything, and it's leaving the client and the customers, the people who interact with it, with a sour taste in their mouth. The second reason is organisations often undertake a sheep dipping or a training strategy, and that's where they train everyone in these different methodologies. And I've got to tell you up front, that is probably one of the worst things you can ever do. It costs you a ton of money, and we do not make any money out of it. So that turns an initiative that's supposed to generate value into a cost. And you know what? In situations, if I was leading a company like that, I would get rid of the initiative as well. The third thing is the situation where the organisation doesn't really want to do the change that's required to make these initiatives work. They really would like to continue doing what they've done yesterday and not change behaviour, do things differently from a leadership perspective. And it's probably one of the major impacts or barriers to people with good ideas actually being able to employ them in a business improvement world. So what I want to do at this point is explain to you what Lean and Six Sigma and problem-solving methods are and how they fit within a value stream. Because if you understand that effectively, it may lead you down the path of utilising these initiatives correctly. So if you think about a business primarily as a value stream, it's a stream of activities that generates organisational value. And if we're going to talk business, we've got to talk in commercial terms. It's about making money. Now, the value stream is a series of activities that when you string them together, it delivers a product or service to the customer and generates commercial value for the company. Now, the primary or core processes is what makes up this value stream. It's where the money is made from getting inputs into a process, converting them or translating them into a product or a service, and delivering those for a price to a customer. And these are supported by a series of other functions or processes in an organisation, which we would refer to as secondary or support functions. Now, a lot of business improvement methodologies can be applied here, but in many cases when they're rolled out in these particular functions, they don't generate value because they don't affect the value stream in a way that converts into either increased costs, increased revenue, or decreased costs. So one of the mistakes that gets made in businesses is they implement business improvement and apply it in the support functions primarily, not the value stream. Now, if we look at this value stream or series of primary processes, the product or service at the end has some customer-related requirements of it. And if we were to measure the performance of that process, that product or service against those requirements, we would find variation would appear. You know, if it was about a product, it might be the width or weight or length of a product, and there would be subtle variation in those different products. If it was a service, we might want to measure cycle time or quality, or have some quality metric in there, and we would find variation in those metrics as well. Now, that variation can be kind of like the random variation we expect to see, or it might be a situation where these outliers appear. You know, suddenly we get a really bad one or a really good one or something. So there's 2 different types of variation you're seeing there on the screen. Now, that variation also applies to the space in between the different functions, where we're measuring the quality of the product or service as it comes through the process. So we might look at it in the first phase of development and measure some quality metric, and we find variation sits there. Now, that expected variation is something we expect to see when we measure correctly, and that variation is treated with Six Sigma. the goal of Six Sigma, and it is the correct methodology for analysing data and understanding variation and coming up with solutions, is to optimise variation so that it fits within the parameters that we specify, and to eliminate defects. That's anything outside of the variation parameters. Six Sigma is probably the best methodology for employing in those situations. If you're not trying to treat variation, you don't need Six Sigma. You may get benefit out of some of the tools, but Six Sigma is more appropriate for that particular scenario. Now, if we have another look at this process, we've got the situation where our process has a really good one or a really bad day, and we would call that special cause variation. There's another set of skills and tools that we refer to as systematic problem solving, and the purpose of that is to eliminate defect events. Problem solving methods like Apollo root cause or KT or Taproot, there's many more than just those. They are primarily there to treat special cause events. It's a different toolkit than the Six Sigma and Lean and the other methodologies, appropriate for that scenario. Now, one more scenario that's most common in business, and that's where we're looking at the value stream and we're trying to reduce the cycle time for getting things through a process, or we're trying to increase the throughput or the rate of production and the rate at which we deliver a product to the customer at the end. Now, the second part of this it relates to inventory, and inventory sits in between the different functions through that primary value stream. One of our targets might be to reduce that inventory levels, because that's working capital tied up in the business. Now, the methodology that helps you treat those things is Lean. Lean thinking, employed correctly in a project context, is designed to help you optimize throughput and to minimize waste. And waste is anything that's costing you money in there and time effectively. So you've got three methodologies that all are appropriate for different contexts in your value stream. When we're treating expected variation, we look at Six Sigma. When we're treating special event type variation events, something that is an outlier that kind of throws us out a bad product or a bad day, we use problem solving tools. And when we're trying to treat throughput and cycle time and inventories and those types of things, we use Lean thinking. Those methodologies can be employed in most businesses today, and it's this understanding of how they are employed in your value stream which is going to lead you down the path of utilising these so they generate value. I wish you well with your business improvement efforts.